today we're going to meet Josephine Basudde. Josephine Basudde is psychology therapist, and we're going to meet her and we're going to know more about her.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you for you to being in the show. Josephine, tell me about yourself. When did you arrive here in Canada? You're coming from another country. Can you come from Uganda? Okay, tell me about your immigration. When did you arrive in Canada?
On June 20th, 1984, I arrived with my mother and 5 siblings, and we settled in Regina, Saskatchewan. Prior to coming to Canada, we lived in Kenya, in Nairobi, Kenya, for 4 years as refugees. We fled Uganda in 1979 when during the Idi Amin War. And we settled in Regina for 3 years as newcomers to Canada. Yes.
Oh wow, a long time ago now. Do you remember what were your first feeling when you just came in that new country? I guess was very different from the one that you knew before in Kenya and Uganda.
Of course, it was very, very different. It was shocking to see that as much as we had been prepared to come to Canada, we were quite shocked to see very few Black people. The assumption, I think we were very young. The assumption was that we were coming in a white space, but we didn't actually internalize the fact that there would be very few Black people. So that was quite shocking. There was hardly any food that looked or similar to what we used to eat. There was a lot of concerns for us around where to go, how to express ourselves. Simple things like we take for granted sometimes around hair products and facial creams, and for us as young girls and for my mother, those little things. But most importantly, also the experience of racism in Uganda or in Nairobi, in Kenya. We had not experienced racism. There was war in my country, and in Nairobi there was also some tensions with newcomers in the country, but it didn't extend to the experience we had with racism in Regina.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Can you tell a little bit about how you did overcome, I guess, these challenges when you come here? That racism question, maybe it's still going on, but how did you have found a way to manage through this?
Racism is ongoing. This is a white country, and racism as Black people, we are all, the onslaught is on all the time. However, how did we maneuver that? We met people who were coming from different countries. We searched out for people who looked like us. We engaged a lot with the Jamaican community. That was the biggest, I think, community at the time in Regina, and we were able to get together sometimes and talk about some of those issues. But other than that, like, it was just learning the way on different ways of maneuvering and getting involved and going on about your business and not making and internalizing that without and letting it limit your ways of moving on or doing what you needed to do. So it is just ongoing. I just don't think that racism is going to go away in Canada. I think we just chip at it slowly. And getting involved is key in being resilient around that on that topic. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you tell us about something? Let's say, I know that maybe there wasn't too many, but something positive let's say, beside that the racism question,
Mm.
let's say the weather also not easy in Canada also. Have you had some, I don't know, like a positive aspect you could notice at this time?
Yes, I think for us the positive aspect about the whole thing about coming to Canada was that we were awarded the opportunity to go to school when we were refugees in Kenya, and I think as newcomers in this country, there is that whole aspect of coming in and being new workers. We came in as new workers, but after a while, you get to the you maneuver and you find your way out, and you realize that education is key and you need to go to school. It is not accessible to a lot of people, especially for us. It was a great opportunity. That was my mom's main goal when she brought us to Canada, was to let us to support us in going back to school, which I think was great. In terms of the weather, we were quite shocked, as most people who come to this country, with the cold. We never assumed it would be as cold as it gets, especially in Regina, Saskatchewan. It gets to 40 degrees for long periods of time. Like no sun. That was a shocking experience, because I think we took it for granted when you live in Africa that the sun is going to come out all the time, and in certain circumstances sometimes it doesn't. So those are some of the things that we thought were interesting in this country. The food was also different. So there were great things that we learned to adjust to ourselves and be resilient. But most importantly, I think for me, I would say that going to school was a great opportunity to coming to Canada. Yeah.
All right. And when did you came to Ottawa to live? Now you're living in Ottawa, no?
Yes.
When did you move from Saskatchewan to Ottawa?
I came from Saskatchewan in 1987, and I never left. I settled in Ottawa, and I've lived here for since then. I also had in 1990 I returned home to Uganda, and I worked there for 3 years with street children. My job was basically to resettle street girls. It was a girl child project, and that's what I worked on. So but other than that, I've lived most of all my life in Ottawa. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And what is the biggest change you have noticed about Ottawa since you get there?
Biggest change is the large group of Black people. There were more Black people in the city. It was very different in terms of structure and environment. There were more schools that people could explore in terms of going back to school. It is very different. Ottawa, the structure, the transit, everything is different. Regina is very small. You come from Broad Street from one end to the other, like Rideau Center, and that's all that at the time, that was what downtown looked like. Here in Ottawa, it was different. There were more opportunities for employment. There was a community, a larger community that we could that could support our needs as community, and I think that was for us the most positive thing. Yeah. But it was also it seemed familiar to what we had known all along, because when I was born in Kampala, which is the city of Uganda, and I interacted most of the time in the city. My interactions were around the city, and when we lived in Nairobi, it was almost the similar circumstances until we went to Regina. Regina was very small, smaller than what I had seen or what I had grown up with. So it was shocking. But again, there've been very many things that I thought were different from Regina and Ottawa. Yeah, for sure. They are different cities.
Yeah, exactly. Can you tell us a little bit about your work?
I work on gender-based violence. For the last 25 years, I've worked in shelters for abused women, and I currently coordinate the crisis line at the Ottawa Rape Crisis Center. And I've done that for the last 20 years. I recruit and train volunteers who work on the crisis line, and we support survivors of sexual violence and their families and the community. I also work at the Cornerstone Housing for Women, where we support women who are homeless. So we provide supportive housing, but we also run a shelter for women in particular. And I also have my private practice where I see clients on individually on any issues that present, but mostly on racism and maybe experiences with gender-based violence and all other issues that intersect with sexual violence, because we have a lot of issues that people experience, homelessness, poverty, we have chronic illness, elder abuse. So all these things intersect with the work that I do, and I can speak little bits about that, but also I support people from that angle. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you tell us what inspires you in general in your work or in life?
What inspires me generally is hope. Like I find that in my work that people do have come in with issues that are impacting their lives, just like everybody else. So, but I also find that people have resilience and people have strength, and I think for me, I come from a framework where it is a strength. I use a strength-based perspective, and everybody has strength. Everybody has the ability to overcome. So I think what inspires me is just to let people know that things do get better, and it is within them to make some of these changes. Yes, we do have structural issues like racism and poverty and economic crises that might impact them, but they also have some ability to shift some of these things that are going on in their life. So I think using a strength-based perspective in my work helps me keep the hope going. Like I have to do that because that's the framework that I use. Yeah.
What has life told you about yourself and about other people?
What life has told me about myself is that we are here to serve others, and I feel that when I do that with other people, I feel grounded and I have purpose. So what it has taught me is that my purpose in life is to be able to take care of myself and at the same time look for opportunities to serve others, be of service to others. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If there is something you could change, Josephine, what it would be?
If there was something I could change, it would be time. I wish I could have more time and go back and parent my children, spend more time with my children. Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, sure. That challenging time is something always challenging, especially in Canada, right? People
Yes,
always run. You always have to run. Yeah,
yes,
understand that. Yeah.
yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have much power
No,
to do that. Okay,
yes.
what advice you would give to the next generation, Josephine?
The advice I would give the next generation would be to get involved, and show up at the table, be engaged with what's going on. I am very pleased to say that I have had the opportunity, especially the privilege actually, to work with the younger generation. Most of the people that are coming into the workforce now are much younger than when I was looking for employment. So I find I have to say that I would say I would encourage them to be at the table, but I also think that they are on the table already, and they're engaged, and they are addressing issues, and they're standing up and giving us, for me, giving me the motivation to continue going, because I think that they have the strength and they have voice. It's unbelievable. So for me, what I've observed in Ottawa, in our communities, but also some of the people that I've worked with or I continue to work with, is that they need to be more engaged with what's going on and be part of the political structures. I would like to see more people in parliament that represent our communities, and those things that, you know, that make shift and make differences in our communities. But we can't sit back and wait for people to make decisions for us or to speak on our behalf. We have the information, we have the knowledge. We need people to be to represent us, people who look like us in places of power. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Josephine, what does the Griot in me mean to you?
It's a new concept, which I think is so much needed. It means, for me, continuity. It means community. It means empowerment, and it means strength. So those are some of the things when I read the profile of what it is, and I was amazed by the project. So yeah, that's what it means to me. Continuity.
All right, thank you, Josephine. Thank you for
You're welcome.
participation.
You're welcome.